Okay, we are on another Sunday night live. Get you guys in here, and we're gonna talk about some hormones today and all the fun things that go along with that. Interesting. As I had a couple of interesting things happen this week, so I thought I would share. And while I did say that these are menopause symptoms no one told you about, I had said something to one of the guys in the gym about something I had going on, which I'll share with you in a minute. And he goes, "Oh, he goes, I get that all the time too." So you guys, you aren't off the hook on this one. So this will be fun. This will be fun. So let's see. Should be streaming over to my Facebook page. Also, there. And yeah, there we are. Okay, great. So we are live. And yeah, so welcome. Welcome in. We are over on Facebook, we are on YouTube, and we're on LinkedIn tonight. So welcome everybody on LinkedIn. Love to see you in here. So when you show up in to watch, go ahead and please leave a comment, hit the thumbs up button, and let everybody know you're here. So the more you engage in the comments, the more it shows people my videos. So that's the goal. All right. Okay, so here we go. All right, so it's Sunday night. So we are talking about menopause symptoms that no one told you about. So what do you think the most common menopause symptom is? Or what do you think people think the most common menopause symptom is? And you can drop that in the chat. So I'm sure that most everyone is going to come up and say hot flashes. And yes, that is a very common symptom. Hot flashes and night sweats, it can be very miserable. We'll dive a little bit deeper into that as we go. But today I wanted to talk about the things that we don't know. So I'm going to use myself as an example. And so I have an issue with my wrist. So this part of my wrist back here, I don't know why I look yellow, but so I have a problem with my wrist. I was fine. And I woke up on Tuesday morning and I felt like my wrist was broken. So this was the conversation that took place at the gym. I had to ask one of the trainers to put some plates on the leg machine for me because I could not lift anything with this left hand. And he said, "What did you do to it?" And I said, "I woke up." So if you can relate, give me a thumbs up on that one. And that's when he said, "Oh," he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I'm over 40." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I wake up a lot and I just feel stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, I woke up." And it was like that. And getting a lot of that in my shoulders as well. Shoulder issues are very, very common in women in perimenopause and menopause. And, again, we'll talk about the mechanism of this as we get into a little further into the show. But so it was just funny, he was like, "Oh yeah, I do that all the time. I wake up with stuff all the time." And I mean, this is just the reality. As we get older, sometimes we just wake up and stuff is there. Now, I broke this bone right here about, maybe 15 years ago. It was a while ago. Maybe longer. 15 could have been 20. I think it was 2009, I'll tell you that. So yeah, so it was over 20 2009, 19. Yeah, okay, so 15, 16 years ago, somewhere around there. So I broke that hand. And so every now and then I get this kind of phantom pain that the hand is broken again. And I don't know why that happens. I try to think about, is it my diet? Did I eat something inflammatory? Did I have alcohol? Like, what are all the things? Did I not sleep well? I always go to that that place? Did I hydrate well? Did I get exposed to something that caused an inflammatory response in my body? Because the reality is that once we have one injury in our body, that becomes a very weak area. And so it can be vulnerable to further injuries or just further aches and pains. So imagine you, let's say you have arthritis in your neck or your lower back and you don't have pain from it. I see this a lot where I see damage on the disc in the cushion in between the bones or narrowing of the spinal spaces, which puts extra stress on the nerves. And people will be like, "Oh, how come I don't feel that?" And I'm like, "Well, I guess it's good that you're not having symptoms, but it doesn't mean there isn't a problem there." And then what'll happen, the slightest thing will happen, they'll bend over to put their socks on and their back goes out. Or again, maybe they went on vacation and they come back and they're just in dire straits because when they were on vacation, they weren't exercising, they weren't being mindful as to the foods that they were eating. They were eating very inflammatory. It just, usually you go on vacation and it's not conducive to a healthy lifestyle. A lot of people lose their lifestyle habits when they go on vacation. We think, oh, I don't, I can eat whatever I want, or, your intention is to exercise and then you don't. And so I think a lot of times people come back from vacation and they're like, I just came back from vacation. I shouldn't be in pain. I didn't do anything. And I'm like, well, that's probably part of the problem. You didn't do anything and you weren't paying attention. And so if things are already compromised and then you get inflamed, think of it like blowing up a water balloon, that you're stretching the limits of that balloon. You're getting more tension. You're stretching the fibers inside of your body, inside of your spine. You're pushing fluid into an area that hardly has any room for daily function, let alone the excess inflammation. So think about it that way. When you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I just woke up like this. And of course, I always say too, like, I do make fun of people when they say, I just woke up, I slept wrong. That's what I make fun of you for. So I don't particularly, if you just say, I woke up like this, that's different than saying I slept wrong. Because usually, if you woke up like this, something had to happen that led up to that. So that's where, sleeping wrong, it's not usually how you slept. It's usually what happened in the days, the weeks, even the hours. Did you do something that was repetitive on a particular day? Did you take a long car ride? So thinking about those things that can then start to feed into what we feel and experience on a daily basis. We wake up and we have pain. Now, this was kind of unusual because, again, I can't recall a thing. I was doing my normal routine, and sometimes the normal routine can become repetitive and can become harmful for us. But I go back, I did yoga on the weekend like I normally would. I put my lawn furniture away, and that wasn't particularly stressful. Sat here at the computer, I did some work here. I did pretty much the same things that I would normally do. So nothing out of the ordinary. I worked on Monday, I adjusted a bunch of people. Again, felt fine, never felt a tweak. Wake up Tuesday morning with 10 out of 10 pain in my wrist. I literally could not turn my wrist over. So the fact that I could do that today is good. But I went from a 10 out of 10 pain, just random pain in my hand and my wrist, to now today, I think I'm at about a 4. So it's taken almost a week. I'm using a lot of cold laser on it. Again, I'm making sure I'm hydrated. I did go to the gym today and I tested it just to be sure, I can grip and I can hang, but I can't grip and lift. So I still have to be very careful because it feels like it's broken. And again, why is it like that? I have no idea, but these are the random things. And then I wake up and I have shoulder pain, like pain right here in the fronts of my shoulders. And the right shoulder, this is the one I injured years ago. The left shoulder, Why is my left shoulder doing that? So as we get into these random uh, fits of pain, let me know. I want to know, do you get random pain? Do you wake up and you're like, where did that come from? I didn't even do anything. And I want to know what it is. So my shoulders, and the wrist, those are my big ones. And I just stay on top of it with again, I'm using my cold laser on it and staying hydrated and using a lot of balms and things like that on it. But as we age, and especially women in menopause and perimenopause, premenopause, our estrogen levels start to decline. And estrogen is this beautiful anti-inflammatory. It's very protective for us for so many things. And so, unfortunately, we start to lose our estrogen. And way back, I think it's like in the 1800s, maybe even earlier than that, women would only live to about 50. So they'd have babies and then they would go through menopause and they would die. Like, right. So, and now we have a much, longer lifespan. So it's just interesting how, it was, menopause, die. We're not doing that. So how do we navigate beyond the hormonal changes, the drastic hormonal changes? We have to tolerate so much in our lives, and then we have to do this. Men, you guys don't go through this, but I do need you to hear me, because you probably have a partner or a loved one in your life who you need to be able to support. Most women that I work with will come in, they want to either get their nutrition on track. They are finally ready to change their lifestyle. They recognize that a lot of their hormonal issues are lifestyle driven. And so we'll put people on, specific food plans that are healthy for them and just help to get rid of all the ultra processed foods, help people get started exercising. Movement is so critically important. Flexibility. So I work with a lot of women in perimenopause and menopause on the lifestyle aspect. How can I help you optimize all of the things in your life? And then, do you need hormone replacement? That is a conversation for somebody who is well skilled in that area. But I will do all the basic labs to make sure that, do you have any nutritional deficiencies that we're dealing with? Because the more of these things that you have going on, the more of your lifestyle habits that aren't in check, the more of lifestyle habits that you are not paying attention to, the more bad things that you're doing for yourself, the worse your hormonal balance will be. You'll have much more hormonal imbalance. So it's really critical that you pay attention to your lifestyle habits so that when you get to menopause, your body is able to be more balanced and in a more optimized state. It does not mean you won't have fluctuations and some crazy ups and downs and some night sweats and brain fog. And, the things that nobody tells you is, sometimes there are just some days you can't think clearly. There are some days you're just so exhausted, you just want to sleep all day. Your motivation and drive goes down. And this is really difficult for a lot of women like myself who are very driven. And, we're trying to just stay on top of our game. And so when you lose the ability to have your drive, you lose that motivation, it can really play mental games with you. So making sure your mental capacity is on deck. And it's also really important to give yourself some grace and understand that some of this is, you're going to have these fluctuations. So some of it is beyond your control. However, you need to control the controllables. And so that is through food, movement, lifestyle, sleep, and making sure that you're paying attention to the things that are lacking. Where are the gaps in your health? Where are the gaps in your lifestyle habits, your food habits? I just did a couple of videos on environmental toxins. So the things that we put on our skin, the, laundry detergents, like let's just talk there, and how much of a hormone disruptor laundry detergent is. You sleep in the sheets that you washed with your toxic laundry detergent and with your dryer sheet, and then you have your pajamas on, and then you wake up in the morning and you do all the things, and there's a whole toxic cascade of things that we utilize when we get up and we start getting ready in the morning. And then we put clothes on that we've also then used our laundry detergent and our dryer sheets on. And so we're constantly bathed in this soup of toxic chemicals. And those toxic chemicals are disruptive to our hormones. So what that means is that our natural hormones are like a lock and a key. So let's say you take estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, anything, your thyroid hormone, and it looks like and there's multiple different ones of those. So I'm just making this very simplistic, is that the hormone looks like a key, and then there's a keyhole that hormone goes into, and it turns things on and off. So it's a regulator. But what happens with the hormone disruptors is they look exactly like the key, and they will go into the keyhole, and they will just take up space, and they won't turn anything on and anything off. And you can have a limited number of receptors. The body can produce more receptors, but if you're really highly toxic in these things, these toxic elements are just going to go ahead and take up the space in the receptors that get rebuilt by your system. So then we have all of these free floating hormones, and the body will either eliminate them or they'll store them. This can become endometriosis, it can become polycystic ovarian, it can become different cancers, it can become breast cancer. So these hormone disruptors, these toxic chemicals, are incredibly dangerous for us. And so I want people to recognize that they're in your environment. So again, if you just took one thing out, if we just focused on laundry detergent and dryer sheets and got that out, that's one massive way to improve your health. Now, let's think about your kids, because your kids, if we start disrupting their hormones from a very young age, which we do in today's toxic soup of a world, then when girls get to puberty and they start their periods get all jacked up. And so then they're put on the pill, which is a synthetic hormone, which does not help the matter. And then they are on the pill that causes some chronic issues, long-term downstream effects. Then they want to have babies, and not as teenagers, as they get older. And then once they get older, then we have infertility, and infertility is skyrocketed. Now, then we go through fertility. I want to say training for fertility treatment. So then we go through fertility treatment, and then women are taking all these extra hormones to have babies. And it's very difficult for these hormones to leave the body. And we're still walking around in the toxic soup. So now, as we start to then get older and age, our hormones are even more challenged. So now, as we get into menopause, these crazy symptoms, like just waking up with random pain, this will be gone in 2 days, and then I'm sure my shoulder will kick in or something, So it's recognizing that these random pains are going to come and go. Do you want them to come more often, or do you want them to come less often? And one of the biggest the two biggest things that women in menopause complain about are frozen shoulder and plantar fasciitis. So if you've ever had plantar fasciitis, you know how painful that is. And if you don't know what plantar fasciitis is, it's like tendonitis on the bottom of your feet, one or both feet. And it's an inflammatory response to something bigger going on in the body. There's weakness. So it can be weakness in the muscles. It can be weakness in the joints. So strength is a critical component to making sure that you're helping to stay metabolically sound. When we have more muscle on us as women, And this is one of the biggest things that you can do for yourselves, because the one of the other symptoms is we lose muscle mass at a rapid rate. And so if we can get into the gym, lift weights, do intense yoga. I also do vinyasa yoga, which is, it's very intense. It's in a heated room, so it's a lot of body weight type exercising, strength, flexibility, and then it's sweating. So I'm detoxifying as I'm moving deep into the joints of my body, twisting my spine. It's so nourishing for everything for me. And so yoga is one of the best things that we can be doing for flexibility and detoxification. So I highly encourage that, again, if we can start these things younger, it makes the transition into menopause so much easier. So making sure you are, if you can take your flexibility with you, if you can build bone strength younger, if you can build muscle strength younger, then the crazy things that you might experience as you get older are less likely to happen. We also, as women, we lose bone at a very rapid rate once we lose that estrogen. And so right around 40 is where we start to see osteopenia. So if you've ever been diagnosed with osteopenia, you can drop a comment in there. And so osteopenia means you just don't quite have enough bone in. It's not enough to call it osteoporosis, which means porous bone. It's less bone than you should have, is what osteopenia is. And you have to go into your older years, your later years, with good, strong bones and good, strong muscles. So as we age and we lose bone, our risk of fracture is so great. And so the more metabolically active and sound we can keep our bodies through movement, through strength training, walking is wonderful. I love walking, but that's not all you can do. You have to be doing things that are challenging to your structure, to your frame, and making sure that you are really like testing the limits, testing your physical limits, and it's never too late. So the way I look at this is, you can get into the gym and you can, grab some weights, and you can be like, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you're flying through 3 sets of 10 and thinking that's okay, well, it's not okay. It's really important that you actually get to a point where you're like, oh my God, that was so hard. Like, I don't think I can do one more. That's how you know you're lifting enough weight. So challenge yourself. When you're lifting weights, you also put stress on bone, which is what you want. The more stress you can put on the bone, the more bone cells will get laid down. And so you don't want this diagnosis of osteoporosis or osteopenia. And osteopenia it's tricky because it's you're pretty far along. And so that means if you get a diagnosis of osteopenia, you've got to be able to, like, you have to pay attention to that. You can't be like, oh, okay, I'll just go to the, drugstore and get some calcium and take some calcium now, because 9 times out of 10, you'll probably get on the wrong form of calcium. If you want to know what the correct form is, I always recommend calcium hydroxyapatite, microcrystalline hydroxyapatite. That's the one I recommend the most. It's the most highly absorbable. You have to make sure you're taking a very specific amount of it. So, if the bottle says take 2 and you're taking 1 to save money, that's not good either. If you fall and break a bone over 70, then your chances of getting out of I think it's over 75, your chances of getting out of the hospital are 50%. Like, it's the risk, and the it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. So spend the money on a high quality calcium supplement and take it regularly. Take the proper dosage. I don't remember dosages off the top of my head, but I could look at a specific one and see what's in. I think it's probably 12 or 1300 milligrams per day. Don't quote me on that, but that's really, you've got to get it up there. Most women on the supplements that they bring me, they're taking two, maybe 300. It's calcium carbonate, or it's calcium citrate, which calcium citrate's okay, but not for building bone. It's good for other things in the body. And calcium carbonate is like eating chalk. So it's not really it's not a good bioactive form of calcium for you. So I would avoid that at all cost. So yeah, into these, there we go there. As we move into our our elder years. So it's so hard to say that. But anyway, so, as we get older and as we move through our hormonal cycles, yes, as women, we get these really unknown things that happen to us. And like I said, plantar fasciitis and frozen shoulder. Frozen shoulder is where like you get a shoulder injury and then you lose mobility. And so you can't even raise your arm and you end up using your scapula or your shoulder blade. You can't lift it. That's a tough recovery to come back from. We can do it. Sometimes you have to have what's called manipulation under anesthesia. So they put you under anesthesia and they literally just take your arm and go, whoop, and they, mobilize your arm under anesthesia. So because you end up getting a lot of scar tissue buildup, and there's a lot of neurological dysfunction in there too. So you do not want to get frozen shoulder. So, that's why, this worries me when I get this shoulder pain. I'm like, it's the beginning of frozen shoulder. I know, while it might not be the traditional frozen shoulder, I know that there's certain things that my range of motion is decreased. And I don't like that because I've been really working on my range of motion for 20 plus years. So on my shoulders, I mean, and when I mean that, I work on them through yoga, which I've been doing for 20 years. So really working on shoulder mobility. So it's a little frustrating. And so, yeah, it's like we're doing all the things and we're still getting frozen shoulders and we're still getting plantar fasciitis. Oh, and we're still not sleeping and we're gaining weight and we can't lose weight. I mean, these are the complaints I hear on the regular basis. So there's a lot to be said for having these crazy symptoms beyond just hot flashes and night sweats. Our bodies get really affected by it. And so, that's why I always encourage men too. I'm like, the women in your life are not going crazy. They think they are, I mean, it really takes an emotional toll on women. And so it's important that men, you've got to be there to love them and support them through the craziness while they get it all figured out. But just circling back to making sure that your lifestyle, this now becomes the wake-up call to improve your lifestyle, to make sure, are you doing all the things that you need to be doing? I'm working with a woman right now, and I told her, I said, we're doing some gut testing, we're doing some blood work on her, and I told her, I said, I need you off dairy and gluten. And so then I saw her a few days later, and she was like, I really want dairy. I can't believe you took me off of dairy. And, she's kind of yelling at me, in jest. But, and then she said, well, I had to go out and I had to buy all the dairy-free stuff. And so she went out and she bought all this dairy-free stuff, literally like processed food, dairy-free stuff made out of like poor quality soy. She had to have like these specific like cheese substitutes, and there's a lot of chemicals in that stuff. That stuff is toxic. It's toxic waste. It's not even food. It's just food it's food like substance that's been put together to make you think that it's food. So, hey, Rick, happy wife, happy girlfriend, happy life. That's true, right? So just love and support your women while they go through the craziness. It's just really important for women to know that, they have a support system, and that, you hear him barking. Yeah. He's outside the door. All his toys are in a basket. And he's like, come out and play. I'm like, no, it's not time to play right now. So I always encourage The men, my male patients. I encourage the husbands, the boyfriends of my female clients to just, listen, be supportive. She thinks she's going crazy, but she's not. These hormonal fluctuations, we're like, we get it at both ends. We get it at puberty, and then we go through the hormonal craziness at perimenopause and then menopause. So it's really not fair. It's not fair. So men, be there for your women, please. They will thank you beyond belief. And trust me, having support at home is critical. So if she comes home and says, hey, listen, we got to really change our eating habits and I need your help, then guys, you got to jump in. You have to be part of it. Be a part of the solution. Help with the family, because wherever she's at today, I guarantee you this is how the whole family is, because moms lead the charge. Moms run the household. And I know there's a handful of men out there who are, single dads. They might run the household, but for the most part, you all know what I'm talking about. It's mostly the women who are at the helm of what's happening in the home. And so I've had so many women over the years who've come to me and they say, my husband doesn't support me. She wants to change her eating habits, get herself healthy. And yet she's getting backlash from the husband who refuses. And when he refuses, then the kids refuse. And now she's on an island at home, feeling all by herself with no support, watching her family get sick while she's trying to get healthy. And that's not a great place to be. It's not a healthy place to be. It's not good for mindset. It's not good for the legacy of the children. So I encourage all the men to make sure that you are getting involved. And if she comes home and says, this is what we have to do, then you got to say, okay, then that's what we have to do. And especially if there's kids involved, because you do not want your kids growing up with chronic diseases and having the struggles as they go through the process. Women will still go through hormonal fluctuations and changes, but the more pieces you can put into play to help mitigate that, then the less opportunity there is for those hormonal fluctuations. So gut health, mindset, movement, sleep, it's all critical. Food, the environment, and if you're like, I don't even know where to start. Well, start here. You're watching this. So just start here. Find that, this to be an encouraging place for you. There's lots of videos on this channel with regards to how to start eating healthy, how to start cleaning up your environment, what to look for when you shop at the grocery store, what kinds of foods are better than others. So pick something, just pick a video and start. Also follow my Reset Monday show, which is every Monday, where, I give you a snippet on something different about health and wellness and ways to shift so that you can make sure that you're maintaining your healthy lifestyle habits. It's a way to reset each and every week instead of waiting for the top of the year and setting lofty resolutions that 98% of people will fail within 3 weeks. So, all right, you guys, I'm going to cut out a little bit early today. So I appreciate you being here. Thank you for your comments, your questions. And if this resonated with you, leave a comment. If you're new here, please subscribe and please share it with somebody, because women's health is an incredibly underserved space. Women can't get the answers that they're looking for. Women are in desperate need of guidance, of information. And so you can send them over to this channel, because this is where they'll get it. So, all right, you guys, thank you so much for being here. Have an amazing night. I'll see you tomorrow on Reset Monday, Thursday for Chiropractic is Sexy, and then right back here next Sunday with a special guest, my good friend, Dr. Outer Tovar, who we're going to be breaking down some mindset stuff and some lifestyle things, so you won't want to miss it. All right, I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Okay, see you, bye.